We are drawing people! Yeah! And I know that's super scary for some of you, but don't worry about it. You'll be fine, I promise. It's gonna be so great. It's gonna be so good. So for today, obviously, you need a pencil. Maybe not this freaky, weird, long pencil that I've got that would probably confuse the camera. Probably just a standard pencil. Or a mechanical pencil is even fine. If you're a heavy-handed person, once again, I recommend you use the mechanical pencil to force you to draw lighter. So I am actually in the mood to use the mechanical pencil. So that's what we're doing today. Let me take a sippy of my drink. Honestly, it's just water. So good. All right. I have a couple of you that know how to do this, but a fair number of you don't. So we're gonna start from the very, very basics. I recommend you draw along with me, but you don't have to. We're just gonna draw a simple full figure standing person first, and then there's going to be other little incremental videos after this showing how to draw hands and how to draw arms and how to draw legs and how to draw torsos and all that fun stuff. So we are going to draw a whole entire body first. Step number 1, draw a line. Oh my god, Sheena, it's just like everything else we always do. I know. Now we're going to draw where the top of the head is going to go and where the bottom of the feet are gonna go. If you go like this, whoop, and you kind of find the halfway point. Also know for me it's a little weird because I'm looking at an angle so you guys can see. So if my proportions aren't quite right, I'm sorry. But about halfway point, you're gonna put another little dash. You should be drawing all this lightly. These are guidelines, right? They're not meant to be like beautiful, finished, perfect lines ground into the page. Now here's the thing, when drawing whole entire people, you maybe draw them like this, which makes me super sad. And maybe if you're a little fancier than that, maybe you put some clothes on them like this, which makes me a little less sad, right? Maybe you draw feet on them, maybe you even give them hands like this. Now, obviously, if you were to draw this person to look super realistic, his head would be huge and it'd be so strange. But notice that still his upper body is about half of his lower body. So we definitely want to make sure to do that here. So up in this top half, we need to fit the head, rib cage, and hips for our person. So we're going to draw our head, we're going to draw our rib cage, and we're going to draw our hips. I've done this a bajillion times, so if when you do this, your proportions don't look like mine, then erase it and make it so your proportions do look like mine. You don't want too much space between these shapes. You don't want for your rib cage to be a perfect round circle. You don't want for your head to be a perfect round circle. You don't want for your hips to be way too wide, and you also don't want for your hips to be tiny. We're going for a very generic person first for our first round. So you're looking for very much these shapes, this distance from each other, fitting in this top half. So take a hot second to make sure that you get this correct. It's going to be a really big deal. All right, so congratulations, you have this, hopefully. God, I hope you do. We are going to draw a straight line across here to help us place our shoulders kind of where the collarbones would be. Cool. Notice the size of my shoulders. I did not make them tiny little marbles, and I also didn't make them giant basketball sized, okay? They should be about that size. Now we're going to do a very fancy stick figure first, and then we're going to put a lot of muscle and stuff on top of it. This is a little bit of a crash course on drawing whole entire people. So we're going to do this first. And this second, or maybe actually the other way around. The length of my arms is determined based off of my rib cage. So if this is my rib cage here, right? I got little ribs and everything. This is the sternum. This is the thing they crack when somebody has open heart surgery. Oh my God, right? From my rib cage out is exactly where my elbow goes. So my elbow should probably be more there. Cool. If you don't believe me, you can take your elbow and shove it into the side of your body and you'll realize that it lines up with your bottom rib right here. Cool. And then we're just going to draw hands as like these funny little mitt shapes. You also know if you're putting hands in the right place on the side of the body because of stupid dress code reasons, right? That your hands should lie along the upper side of your thigh. Now you're probably like, okay, Miss Sheena, that's cool, it's weird, I don't know what's going on. If you want to draw a more feminine figure, you're going to kind of pinch in here and then come out here. If you want a more masculine figure, you're basically going to connect this straight. And this back here, these are called the lats, might come out a little bit more because you got a buffer guy. So I'm going to do a weird figure where half is male and half is female. So now we're going to go from here to here and find the halfway point. And these are where my knees are going to go. So I'm going to draw these nice thigh shapes. Now notice that because I drew an underwear shape here, it's really helpful for me to know where the thighs actually come out from. Some people like to draw boxes or circles or whatever, but I feel like it's hard to then tell like where the crotch actually is and where the legs are supposed to go. So I like to actually draw them like this. Notice that my thighs sometimes don't have a gap between them, right? Not everybody is a super skinny little bean. And they stop a little bit above the lines that I drew for the knees. For knees, I like to draw a square with a triangle underneath it. That's your kneecap. So that means that the calf muscle is here. The ankle is going to be really nice and thin. And then if this foot is facing us, it's going to be this super weird shape that we'll explain at some point in the future. If you have a leg turned out to the side, you want to make sure that you draw from the kneecap here straight down. You don't want to break your person's shin, right? And then here is their calf muscle and a foot from the side is going to be like this. Feet are usually bigger than you think. If you don't know how big to make your feet, what I want for you to do right now is take your foot and put it up against your forearm here, and you'll realize that your foot is the length of your forearm, and you'll be like, holy guacamole, I never realized how giant my feet are. And that should help you understand a little bit better what you're going for. Okay, so here are my legs. Not too shabby. At this point, if something looks obviously weird, if your legs are way too long or too short or too fat or too skinny, maybe you need to draw a bigger hip box. Maybe you need to adjust something going on here. You can do that. Go ahead and do that. That's the point of drawing, right? You don't have to commit forever to the first line that you put down on the page. So, I have my person coming together. What I want to do now is start to draw some more clarity as to what's happening, and I can even erase some of the guidelines I don't need anymore. Okay, so oh, and you also might want to think about the kind of clothes that you're going to put on your person. Let's do arms, and then we'll do a little bit of main body, and then we'll talk about, really quickly, clothes and faces and hands. So let's go ahead and say that this is the armpit. Notice the angle at which I'm drawing it, because the pectoralis muscle is here, right? The pecs are going to determine where the boobies go. Notice how I'm drawing boobs. I'm not doing this. I am just drawing this bottom edge, especially when clothes goes across it, right? I don't want to have like individual boobs. And then for the more masculine side, I want for the pecs to be squared off so that they look really nice and strong and muscular, okay? So that's that. Now we have, for arms, we have our shoulder and our bicep and tricep. And then for this here, this lower part of the arm, these are the extensors. I like to draw quite a bit of a triangle shape to make sure that my wrists don't get too fat. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna do that. Ooh, now the wrist is a good size, but I can still tell where the upper and lower part of my arm is. And then off of here, I'm gonna quickly draw a thumb and some fingers. You were like, Sheena, I don't know how to draw hands then. Hello, I think you rushed too quickly through our hand drawing project, so maybe go back to that. And then also know that your neck should never be way too thick. And then these back here are traps, which you want to be very slim on women, but you can make more pronounced on men, right? If you want for the masculine one. This is a deltoid. We'll talk about that more with arms, right? And then, oh, the other thing too is elbows should almost always be very pointy. Don't ever let your elbows be little lumps or noodles, because that really kind of takes over a lot of the success of being able to tell what's going on with your person. So, okay, so now let's hook his thumb back behind there and have some fingers here. And I'm not going to worry too much about those fingers. Cool. It's funny, I actually put the masculine side in a more feminine pose and the feminine side in a more standard pose. So, that's okay. All right, so let's also talk about six packs. For women, usually, if they're extremely fit, they get what's called the 11s, which is just a little definition line here. For men, if this is your belly button, you actually have one of your six pack all the way up here, really close to your ribs, and then one here, and then a weirdly longer one there. So know that that's technically what's happening with the abs there. Cool. And then let's talk a little bit about clothes. Let's erase some of these guidelines that we don't need anymore. Cool. And honestly, we usually don't need to draw abs on people. Okay, so I think I'm actually going to turn my person fully into a woman, so that way it's not too confusing. As to what I'm doing. Okay, so if I want to put clothes on my woman, I do not want to do this. And I also don't want to have this really nice body that I spent a lot of time on, right? And say, oh wow, she's so beautiful, she looks so great, and then do this, right? What? No, that's bad. We don't want that. We want for the clothes to look like it's actually wrapping around the body. So it helps if you can see up into it. So I like to draw almost like little circles. And then I actually let the sleeve come up off of that. So I'm going to do the same thing for this arm. Look, I drew another little circle and I darken in the holes so I can really see that it's popping off. This also needs to wrap around, darken in. Cool. This is overdoing it a little bit, but it's super helpful for beginners so that you really don't have to worry about clothes looking like it's sitting on the body as opposed to being stuck to the body. Cool. Overlapping is fine too. You shouldn't be afraid of that. And wrinkles. Wrinkles are cool too. Now, you don't want to just put wrinkles everywhere. You're only going to put wrinkles where the fabric pinches. You would never put wrinkles here at the tops of the shoulders. That's where the fabric is being pulled, right? You only put wrinkles in like the armpits, and then obviously in the crotch, the backs of the legs, certain places depending on the item of clothing that you're putting on your person, right? So let's say that she's wearing high-waisted jeans. I'm really wrapping these around too, right? Here are the buttons. Here's the actual band. Don't be afraid to draw a lot of details. Cool. Here are the pockets. And then same thing again. Wrinkles are gonna only go in some places. And then I really want to show this wrapping around a lot. Wrinkles. Maybe a wrinkle there just because the leg is coming out that way. Wrinkles. Definitely not on that side, right? That's the knee. That's going to pull it pretty tight. And then same thing. Really show it. Wrapping around. Cool. Maybe you guys know fashion better than I do. Maybe there's holes in her jeans or something cool. Maybe she's wearing a jacket that has patches on it. Maybe she's got a particular type of bag slung over her shoulder. Right? There's a whole bunch of really cool fun stuff that you can do to make her look the way you want. Maybe she's holding something. Cool. Maybe she has a particular type of hairstyle. This is the part where things get really fun. The hard part now is over. For shoes, don't skimp, right? Don't be like, oh, okay, whatever. Actually draw like laces and seam lines and stuff that really helps show like what kind of shoe is she wearing. That looks kind of like a Nike shoe or Adidas or something, right? Because of the tag and the laces and all that. So take your time. And maybe even look up pictures online of the kinds of shoes that you want for your person to wear. And that goes for all other types of clothing as well. The other super helpful thing as well is, let's say you've got hips and you want to put a nice flowy skirt on or something that fits looser, is more draped, a jacket or whatever. You can cheat and go like this and just draw a wiggly line. And then going straight up from those edges, you now have a really believable wrinkled skirt edge, which is super fun. Cool. All right, so let's give her a really cool hairstyle. Now, just because we've done all this for our body and it's feeling really successful doesn't mean that all of a sudden we're gonna be like, oh, whatever, and just like give her like a stupid face. Cool. We still want to use all of the things that we learned about drawing faces. So center line, and maybe even do the Terminator phase, and then do the C-3PO phase, and right, like take your time to really work it out. Remember, you want to be drawing nice and light. Because I've done this for a long time, I get to cheat a little bit, but you do not. Okay. So let's give her a hairline as well. Don't ever forget about hairlines. Also, notice that I'm drawing pretty big. It helps a lot with being able to add smaller details for clothing and face and all that. If you draw way too small, if you draw like in your smaller sketchbooks that I gave you guys, you're probably going to struggle and have a little bit of a bad time. So I highly recommend that you draw as big as you can. Or mechanical pencils also, since, you know, the line quality can only be so thick, can be really helpful too. Okay, so there's my decent face that I'm pretty happy with. Let's give her a really cool hairstyle because I want for her to be some sort of like influencer type person. Actually, she kind of looks like one of the ladies at my gym, right? Where she's got the short hair on the sides, which is very cool. Yeah. Oh, the other thing also I want to mention is, look at what I'm doing right here. I'm drawing in perspective, okay? I still want for this bag to look dimensional. I'm not suddenly going to draw things like super flat and boring looking. All right, so I know that was kind of a lot, but there you go. There's how to draw a person way better than this guy over here. Cool. All right, guys, good luck. Do a couple different interesting people, put some really fun clothes on them. They don't have to be women, of course, right? You can draw really buff guys or sumo wrestlers or old men or old ladies or anything that makes you happy. Have some fun with it. Pirates are all fine and good. Just make sure they actually have, you know, arms and legs and faces and all that fun stuff. And I'll check in with you guys soon. Bye.